This is The Shit Take. Join me, Stellaby, and my co-host Arrow for the win as we cover everything from entertainment to current events. We hope to normalize the differing of opinions and keep an open attitude toward anyone who would like to share theirs. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe. Now let's stoke some flames.
Only Murders in the Building. It is a Hulu original production, and first and foremost, I just want to say we are living in the golden age of streaming services.
Oh yeah.
We got Netflix, we got Hulu, we got Amazon Prime, we got Disney Plus, Paramount, et cetera, et cetera. We can go on and on. But what I feel judges a streaming service the best is not just like, oh man, I can watch this movie, whenever I want, blah, blah, blah. They brought this TV show, I can binge watch this. Is what can they do for you with originality? And, out the gate with Netflix, we had, some major hits like BoJack Horseman, we had Santa Clarita Diet, there was a wealth
Peaky Blinders,
of Peaky Blinders.
We got Stranger Things now. Like they have really great shows on Netflix. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and see the thing is, what separates that from something like a movie is just like, yeah, you can, release a movie or whatever, and it can be good, but chances are you'll watch it maybe once, twice. That's it.
Yeah.
Whenever you have a hit show that you can continuously, increase your revenue stream from, season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 seems to be about the magic number for Netflix, but to my knowledge, Hulu really didn't have anything at that level. Because you can go to a Walmart, Hot Topic, Spencer's, you'll see something with Stranger Things on it. Like that is a proverbial cash cow for them. And the announcement of season 4.
But, mentioning all the stuff that came across like in video games, right? Like how huge it is amongst like the kids in Roblox and just all that kind of stuff. It transfers over to all that really well. But when you look at like the Hulu lineup,
yes,
there's really when you look at you're comparing Netflix to Hulu with the original content, it's not as strong. I'll be honest, right? They have a lot more stuff, I feel like, but I don't think it's as strong, especially like whenever we're talking about like if it's resonating with the actual population. I don't think it resonates as well. Like I don't think there's anything that really compares to like Stranger Things on Hulu.
Very, very niche audiences with Hulu.
But they do have some really good shows, like the Wu-Tang Saga. I don't know if you've ever.
Yeah, that was cool. I started watching that. I haven't started though.
They got The Handmaid's Tale as well, but.
Yeah, and that was like one of their first things that is still going. I do believe that they've definitely like jettisoned to its own like original storyline, because I know it's like a book and it didn't go on as long as that. But with the horror elements, you really see it in Hulu. They had the whole Halloween, like like there was like 15 original movies that came out in October, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, with their shows, you see them growing into like a bigger sort of market for that. And I know that they've already announced a lot that are in development or they're coming out with, but looking for that one, to stand out that was really interesting is something that it took some time personally. And again, they've had some really big hits when it comes to movies. I've seen a lot of original Hulu movies that made me like laugh or entertaining. But the topic today was Only Murders in the Building. And I just got to say that I was very impressed. It was very, very good. I honestly, like, I got halfway into it and I was like, man, I really want to finish this. And I was like already like stayed up too late. I was like, all right, I'm tired. I got to finish this tomorrow.
We watched it from beginning to end, same day. Couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Steve Martin Short. The fact is, right, Nathan Lane is in this show as well. And, that's a name in and of itself, that's going to make me want to see a movie. I love Nathan Lane. But just Steve Martin Short, do you even need anything else, Like, Three Amigos, man.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It was just like a really refreshing show. I've been waiting to watch it for a long time. I hadn't started it, especially because I have a hard time like watching episode, waiting a week, and watching the next episode.
Yes.
So I waited for it all to be available before I started watching it, and it was a good binge watch.
I am 100% of the mindset of binge watching, because, like he said, if I gotta wait, like chances are I'm not gonna watch it. Like if I can't sit down and like watch this, as far as like, because I'll forget. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, another week, this and that. Like, oh, what episode are they on? Oh, they took a winter break. Oh, they're on hiatus because there's a sporting event on. So whenever it's there and presented to you in a binge watchable format, like I'll sit down and I'll watch it. Like I will. And
The only thing that I'll wait for is the stuff I have to, like anime. Like
absolutely,
it's months, it's years. So I mean,
yeah, like
what are you
it's
gonna
crazy
do?
too. Because Netflix, when they were starting to do like, because they put so much money into their anime budget now, and it's like even now they're getting stuff from like Japan, and they're just doing like a Netflix dub of it,
Yeah,
and it'll still be released in either batches or it'll be like, oh, next week's coming, this week's coming, and it's they're kind of slowly taking off the whole binging thing while still offering like the quality. And it's funny you mentioned the whole Martin Short, Steve Martin thing because they also had done a special for Netflix with themselves, and it's
yeah,
just they're entertainers. They're classic entertainers from like the era that really started with like the whole comedy scene with Saturday Night Live in the 60s, 70s, but they've stayed consistent throughout. And
oh
honestly,
yeah,
forever, that already is impressive because it's just as easy as somebody who was popular at a certain time can drop off when like the changing of the era, what's funny, what's not. But they've been consistent with their
yeah,
careers
and
for like
they haven't
50
stopped.
years.
They haven't lost their pace. Like they're still quick. They're still quick
No.
witted. Martin Short, just I don't know how the guy seems so full of life. Like he is. I don't get it, man. I hope I'm that spry whenever I'm that old. Like
Yeah,
Martin
no, it's
Short is
crazy.
a fucking monster.
No, it's funny too because obviously we've put off with naming the third member of the triad of that sort of
Oh, but we're
show,
gonna get
which is
into it,
we
100%.
are going to get into it. But the thing is, like, given the age gap, and they mention it in the show a lot,
Yeah, it's very prevalent.
he's he still seems the one that's the more vibrant, like the one full of life. And
Yeah,
it's crazy because that is, from the first episode, it's very obvious. The guy's he's coming in, he's like that, he's like doing this, he's running back and forth, talking to
walking across
everybody.
the street with his jacket on, just
Yeah, like
had the
totally,
energy.
totally, yeah, totally peacocking it, with the big plum colored coat. But it's like the guy is just so vibrant, man, and it's just
And you can
uh,
tell, right? Because there's scenes in the show where like Martin Short's doing something just random on the in the background, right? Like whenever he picks up that fucking pitcher to get some water, he reaches
mm,
into it a specific way, lifts it, and like pours it. The guy is that way in real life. He's
yeah,
basically Martin Short is playing Martin Short, and so if you like Martin Short, it's just an absolutely amazing show. But I mean,
Jiminy
Steve Martin
Quick,
alone, I'm a huge fan of Steve Martin, the ever
yeah.
Silver Fox. But man, them together, it's always a great thing, and you can tell that they're just the friendliest of people in real life amongst each other.
You mentioned that you hope you have the energy of Martin Short when you're that age.
Yeah,
I will forego his energy if I can be as ruggedly put together as Steve Martin at that
yeah,
age.
man.
Because the guy's like, I don't know, you can call it Hollywood movie magic, whatever, but the guy just seems so composed himself, like he's dressed a certain way, his hair is like a certain way. He just seems like he's got it all together, even
Yeah,
at that age. And his character too, like they played so well into their characters, and I think that was so amazing. You had Martin Short being the director, so whenever it's in his mind, everything's a stage, everything's a performance. He's looking at the pieces like this is here, this is there. He's looking at it from the outside in as if he has to put it together as a
yeah,
director. You have Steve Martin, the ex-detective from TV. So whenever in his mind he's like, where are the clues? Who is this? Who has the motive? Like they played their role so well. And again, we are foregoing to try the third member, but we are going to get to her, and there's a
yeah,
reason why that because it is so important. But it's
absolutely.
just like, man, all the characters in this in this television show, they all played their roles so well.
Hmm.
And it was just like within the surface of acting, like, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. They're looking for a paycheck. But no, like you could tell like they were having fun with it. Like you could tell, like I wouldn't necessarily say it was a passion project, but whenever you get somebody of
Hmm.
that stature at this point in their careers, for them to be like, oh yeah, I'll go ahead and do a TV show. Like, because I'm not saying this could have easily been a movie, but if you were to cut some things out, it probably could have been. But whenever you take something from like a 2.5 hour movie, suddenly you're taking that, stretching it 10 episodes. Some things can fall, and I don't think a lot did here. Like overall, I think it just flowed very well together.
Yeah, and so um, the third member of the party, the third member of the group is Selena Gomez, and I gotta say, right, because we watched The Dead Don't Die together,
Yeah.
And I've seen her in a lot of stuff, right? And for someone who comes from what Disney, right? Comes from
Disney.
Disney,
Yeah.
and who grew up as a kid in Hollywood, she
She's in Barney.
definitely has the chops. Like
Yeah.
she is a good actress and she does well in
Yes.
her roles. And I got to hand it to her because, like just seeing those three together, right? Two really old guys, and then of course young Selena Gomez. You're not 100% sure it's gonna work, and it played so well, and they do such a good job together. And she does not seem like she's this young actress who's thrown in with these two fucking giants of comedy. She
Exactly.
holds her own, and she's very funny throughout, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, and that was the reason we wanted to talk about her like on a separate pitch from Steve Martin and Martin Short. Not that like, oh, she had to stand out because she was the younger one. It's just that she's blended in so well with them.
Yeah,
And yeah, like you mentioned, dude, like from Barney, I think she was like 3 or 4 years old. Went through the Disney Channel route, did a couple band things, stepped into voiceover work with Hotel Transylvania, and yeah, The Dead Don't Die. She is like it's in like an extended cameo in The Dead Don't Die because there's so much crap happening in that
oh
movie.
yeah,
But even the
the
few scenes
fucking
that she
movie.
was in,
That's
that
that's
is
a whole other video.
that's a whole other video. I promise, because we had to mention it because of her because she's in that movie. We will do
Yeah,
a very long video on that, but that's for another time. But no, like she's definitely come into her own as an actress, and I was very impressed. Like there's no like, oh, did she really hinder it? The one negative thing I will say for her whole performance whatsoever is that I don't believe like she kind of like felt that she was fully fledged, because I don't know, maybe like there were some critics that were still gonna put her through the Disney Channel lens, and trust me, that's a whole nother thing. Trying to escape the Disney Channel edge, that can be a video in itself. But the lens of Disney, like, oh, I was doing this show for 5 years, blah blah blah. They
yeah.
watch Disney. I grew up with Disney, now I'm trying to be an actress. So
Well, the funny.
there's
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, if you finish that
there,
thought.
there there's a certain like, whether you're a PG-13 with R rating, and you have the certain amount of F bombs and S bombs that you can drop. Selena Gomez drops all of them. I think that's
Yeah,
the one thing that I was kind of like, okay, like we get it, you're trying not to be the Disney Channel lens, and she's just like swearing constantly through this
yeah.
show, and it's like, I'm an adult, I swear,
There's a
like,
lot of curse words.
yeah. So it's
But
kind of like,
to be fair, right? Yeah, she does. She's responsible for a lot of them, but there's a lot amongst everybody in the show.
yeah,
Like,
and it's kind of like, oh, dude, Bunny, like, oh my
oh my
God,
god,
her.
yeah,
I was just like, enough with that character. But no, like, she plays the sarcastic, snarky thing, and they even mention, one scene was like, oh, if I was your granddaughter, if you were my grandfather, that sort of thing. So you do see that relationship, but even they mentioned like, hey, man, you got to realize that she's an adult and she can handle herself, sort of thing. So, like I said, it all blends well. They play off of each other so well. And
yeah,
like, honestly, looking back at it, I couldn't imagine any other three actors and/or actresses doing this.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think we're intentionally avoiding spoilers because this is one that we want everybody to watch. We
Yeah.
absolutely want everybody to watch. So we're not spoiling anything. We're just kind of giving our thoughts on the characters and how the dynamic of the show was for us specifically. We
And
might just get into like the first few episodes because I definitely don't want to ruin anything for anybody.
no, not at all. And the thing is,
And
like,
it's a who
in
done
case,
it, so I mean,
yeah,
ruining it is basically giving away who did it. So
absolutely. And it ended on such a note that I was like, man, like, there are threads here that you could pull if you wanted to do a second season. And then, like, after I saw it, it was announced it was renewed for a second season.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I can definitely see this still going. We're just, on the iceberg of what's happening here. And even the name of the title, right? Only Murders in the Building. You think like, oh, they solved the crime, blah blah blah. But it can be as vague as you want it to be. And just to
yeah,
set up a little bit of the back, it's three characters who are all interested in the true crime craze and podcasts. And yes, I understand the irony there, but yeah, like that is the generation, though, right? We're all watching these documentaries, we're watching these Making the Murderers, Mind Hunters, all this stuff. and we're watching the crime reels and then thinking like, oh, if this was me, blah 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 blah, blah blah blah, this would have never happened. I would have done it this way. How could they not find that evidence? And of course, I found myself saying the same thing as I was watching. The things that I thought, oh, could this have been so obvious? Was there a second layer to it?
Yeah.
And I think that's why the show works so well, because it is like you're directly part of it as the audience, right? Like you're a part of the tale. You're trying to follow the clues. You're trying to guess, who done it, that sort of thing. And I think that's awesome. I think Hulu did a really good job of putting
You in
their
the
audience.
seat.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
awesome.
And the truth is, right? The truth is, and this is my favorite part about this show, because a lot of those whodunits, they leave out specific evidence and stuff throughout the movies or throughout the series, and then of course the reveal has stuff to it that just you never caught as a spectator, and stuff that you would have never caught, right? The clues are there, and you can definitely guess. You could definitely guess by at least the third episode who the actual murderer is. Like the clues are there, absolutely they're there, and that's what I love about it. Is it doesn't hide anything. If you're good enough, if you're experienced enough, you might actually wander into your own mind and find that truth that they eventually come to. But I can't wait for the second season. They definitely
Absolutely.
set it up for it very well. I mean, there's not
Yeah.
really much else. There's not really anything bad I can say about this show, except No, there's nothing I can say. I don't have anything bad to say about this. It was a pleasant experience the entire way through.
Yeah, no, I really found myself just, wanting more, and I was really, really glad because, whenever they do that sort of thing with like the whole limited event or limited series, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, this has to be like super contained. And if there's ever just something that isn't quite answered, obviously we're gonna want more if it's good, right? That's what entertainment is.
Yeah.
But whenever it's something just like, well, actually, I don't really understand why that was there. Like they don't mention that, like who, blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. But this, knowing that there was a second season, it like after the fact just made it like, oh man, that I'm that's awesome. Like we're getting to see more of this. We're getting to see interactions, the
Yeah.
characters,
Now we
all
just
that.
gotta wait a little bit.
Exactly. And
That's like the worst part.
right, it always, yeah, absolutely is.
Go
And
on. You have to, but we just all hate it, waiting. Doesn't matter
maybe
what it
maybe
is, just hate waiting.
yeah, maybe by the end of next year. But yeah, like the show, it told its story. The mystery, the murder, whatever. It was, yeah, it was a good pace. There wasn't anything really choppy about it. And like you said, it was easier to follow along. There were clues there if you're looking for them. It didn't, like, I don't want to say talk down to you, like, oh, the audience will never get it. And see, that's always stupid too. Like, oh, it wasn't who you predicted. It was a twist ending, blah blah blah. It's
Yeah.
like no, like it was presenting you the evidence, the clues as they were finding them. So it wasn't like, oh, well, if you were really sharp, you would have noticed, so and so's name spelled backwards was enemy, like something dumb like that. You know what I mean? Like it it was presenting a case that anybody could follow along
Yeah.
because that's what these people were. They were fans of the true crime, of the whole podcast scene, and they were just stuck in the middle of it. It was a dream come true for them.
There's some seriousness to all of the characters. Every single one of them have a serious
Layer.
background. They're
Yeah.
delved into enough for good character progression, where you are given the exact and you given the understanding as to who this person is, why they are the way they are, and that's always rare to see. Like in some of these newer shows, they don't really care to go into all that. They just want to hurry up and deliver a story. So I
Yeah.
appreciate good storytelling. I appreciate it so much, and I appreciate whenever someone decides that they want to actually flesh a character out. And then they do such a good job of it too.
No, absolutely. And again, over 10 episodes, like the pacing was not an issue, and you would assume like,
Not
oh,
at all.
they exactly like, oh, let's figure this out, blah blah blah. Like there was even like almost a call out within like the show itself. They're like, well, hold on, man, let's not be too hasty. Let's take our time and figure out everything.
Yeah,
And yeah, again, I appreciate that, man. Like you don't have to rush something like that, especially again if you're not set into the confines of a movie when you can flesh out things and it's okay to do that in a television show, then yeah, absolutely. Like put those layers
dude.
there.
Yeah. Overall, I would definitely give this show no less than a 9. I enjoyed it that much.
Yeah, when it came to like storytelling, the characters, the progression of the actual case and surprises here and there, yeah, I definitely give it at least a 9.
Yeah.
Like I said, the only negative thing I can really mention about the show was just like how Selena Gomez's character had to portray herself as, again, not through that Disney lens, but
Yeah.
when you really see her character, like, it makes a lot of sense, like what she is, what she's, trying to be, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, like she stood toe to toe with two greats of the industry, man, and it didn't falter a single bit, in my opinion.
Yeah. And don't be fooled. This show's not for children. And for language alone.
Yeah,
It's
no,
some
no,
pretty
definitely.
heavy language in it. So I
Yeah.
would not, just as a disclaimer, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely not. Like, you are dealing with murder. Like, that's never something that's okay.
I know, right? like
Yeah.
like that wasn't the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they show some pretty graphic stuff too. So
Yeah.
not like super graphic, but
Enough that, like, oh, gotta do this and do this. See no evil, speak no evil,
Yeah.
hear no evil. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this content, consider liking the video. Also, make sure you're subscribed to be considered in our giveaways. We'll hold them routinely as our subscriber goals are met. This has been The Shit Take. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy, and we hope to see you next time.